What's up, everybody? Shawn here with another Live to Roll. We're back this Tuesday with another great show. We got our Quadcast crew here. No guests today, so we definitely appreciate you guys' questions, comments, everything in the chat. So if you do have any questions or about what we're doing or just anything you might be trying to work on, let us know and we will get to those. I'm Shawn. I'm a C5, C6 quadriplegic from a snowboarding accident 20 years ago. Go for it, Bob.
Yeah, no
Bobby.
problem. That's all right, man.
Tom can.
Hey, I'm Bobby. I'm Bobby Rohan, C56 as well, from a cycling bicycle accident 34 years ago. Coming up this month is the all living anniversary. Tom, take it away.
Hey everybody, Tom Conaway, C6B, quadriplegic from an automobile accident 26 years ago. Um, yeah, that's me.
All right. Before we get started, just want to take a quick second to thank our sponsors, mobility professionals and urology professionals. We appreciate the sponsors, and we'll get back with more information at the end with them. But their information is in the description below if you want to check them out in the meantime. All right. Let's get into it. Tom, did you have? Do you want to start with the first quick question? Either.
uh, yeah, so we're doing a little quad talk today. One of our favorite topics is independent living. And I guess the question is, what does independent living look like for me? What does independent living look like for anybody? Um, and we're going to ask the question to all of us, but I guess I'll start real quick since I'm kind of the most independent liver of the crew, probably, and that's not a negative thing. It's not easy being independent. It's not easy being disabled. It's not easy being a quadriplegic. It's kind of a tricky feat, um, balancing independence and maintaining your health and your function long term. It's a tricky thing. I really pushed. I used to be fully independent for everything. I never transferred. I never got myself water. I never got myself food. I always fed myself, at least mostly. Um, but outside of that, I depended on everybody for everything. And when I say everybody, it was my family. Because I was in my adolescence when I was injured, and I had my family around to just cater to me and help me out. And it wasn't so much catered to me, but them just loving me and caring for me and taking care of me. Um, Thankfully, I have an awesome mama and papa, and they helped enable me to become independent. They started pushing me towards independence. They started pushing me to get my own glass of water and to work on figuring out how to calf myself. And I kind of started the whole transfer thing, but it's because of the fire that they helped light under me, which is like, oh, snap, I'm going to be disabled for the rest of my life. What does that look like when I turn 18 or 19 or 20 and I want to move out and go to college and start my life on my own outside and away from my family? And it started the journey that I've been on for the last 12 or 15 years, which is learning how to live independently. I'm an old man now. I'm 30. I've been living independently successfully for a decade. And it's been more struggle than I probably care to admit, but we're here to talk about realities and real life on the show. So it comes with a lot of that. Comes with a lot of fear, a lot of stress, and a lot of unknown. There's things that happen every day, even 10 years after the fact, that sometimes I still have to problem solve and figure out, and maybe don't necessarily have an easy or quick solution for. Um, what else does it bring? It brings freedom. It brings the ability to live any way I choose or want or decide. I got nobody that tells me how to live, tells me when I got to go to bed, tells me when I got to get up, tells me what I got to eat or what I got to do or anything, because I do it all. I make my own rules, baby. And the reason I can't make my own rules is because I live on my own. I don't even have a roommate. I live here fully independently. I don't have 24-hour care. I don't even have daily care. I don't. I'll go 2 or 3 days at a time without having any assistance at all. And what does that look like? How does that look? And I mean, it looks like this. You can take a look at me. How do I look? Do I look put together? Do I look clean? Do I look covered in shit? Do I look like I got wounds? Do I look like I'm in pain? Do I look a little sad? Yeah, probably. But that's not because of independent living issues. That's because of other life issues. Um, and I don't know, it's the most rewarding thing I've ever done is learn how to live independently. I honestly wanted to move out so that I could go meet girls and have a place to bring a lady back to. And I'm not joking. Like that was my main motivation. I like wanted to move out. I was like interested in trying to date and stuff. And I was living at home. I'm like, how the fuck is this gonna work if I gotta like bring a lady back to my parents' house and like my room with all my medical supplies and like my heart, like our ceiling lift and everything. I was like, this is not gonna work. And in addition to like all my friends moving out and going to school, and my brother and my sister who are also near my age doing the same thing. And I do it. I rock it. I think I do it, and I rock it better than almost anybody I know. I work super hard to take care of myself, my health, and my ability to stay living independently is my highest priority. So I spend a lot of time, but I put a huge amount of effort into maintaining my care, into taking care of my body, into managing my bladder, managing my bowel care, um, being realistic, living in the realm of reality. Um, sometimes I do need help. Independence means also is like succumbing to dependence and like realizing, okay, dude, like I need some freaking help. Like I cannot. Maybe it's because I'm hurt. Maybe it's because I got a skin issue. Maybe it's just because I'm tired and I'm having a hard time. I don't know what it is. And the way that I'm able to stay independent is because of depending on those individuals at those times when I need them. And that all comes through effort and work and balance too. Maintaining my care, maintaining my nursing care. I have caregivers that come in a few days a week to help me with my bladder and bowel care. Shout out my family too, my mama, sister, who are endlessly and constantly helping me out and taking care of me and doing little things to help keep me sane and functional and healthy and happy. And that all comes through a lot of balance and work and effort too. So I don't always feel like I do a ton, but in reality, I'm doing a lot, and I'm working really, really hard all the time to maintain my health and take care of myself and balance this crazy feat and achievement I've tried to take on, which is living independently, like fully independently, as fully independently as I think I can. I can't imagine any quad that requires bladder and bowel care to go 100% no help and no care, at least long term. But what's independent living look like for you, Bobby?
Um, you know, it's changed over time, kind of like you said, and I think that happens with a lot of us. That it obviously, as all of us here, pretty much that same level, that fine line. If we were 6, 7, I think independence would is obviously a lot different compared to us C5s and 6 years. And when you're not dealing with the triceps, it can be pretty frustrating. But luckily, we got a lot of good strength in our shoulders and our biceps, and we got some balance that over time, the first. And when people ask me how long did it take for you, it's 2 years. It took me 2 years to
Yeah.
where I felt like I wasn't independent, if that whole independence, but I felt like I was getting a lot of things, meaning I just started to drive, I think, or I was in driving training. I was going back to school. I felt comfortable enough to push my own chair without feeling, like, oh, here comes a curb cutout or something like that. Um, taking off my shirt, my sweatshirt, uh, and then really working on the transfer. And then it's kind of like you, Tom. I wanted to move out, you know, and my driving force wasn't chicks. It was more just get away from my parents. They drove me crazy all the time. And my mom, never to this day, accepted, and no mother does, but it's just, I couldn't wiggle like this without my mom like, are you okay? Are you okay? It's just like, I got to get out of here. So when I did move out on my own, it meant, I don't have the family help, and I don't have, uh, I'm going to have to rely on a caregiver coming to my house. And that's when things really kicked over, and transferring was in and out of bed on my own, getting undressed on my own. And right when I moved out, I got a job uh, on the summer month of my summer break of college. And I never went back. I was supposed to go back. And as stupid as it was, I was supposed to go back to USC, and I didn't go because I was talking to a lot of USC grads, and they're like, I can't find a job. And I'm like, oh my gosh, I just got a really good job. And so I decided to stay in the workforce, and being in the workforce and trying to be at work at 8 o'clock in the morning, that my independence for the morning time wasn't going to be possible. And so to this day, my independence in the morning for dressing and showers are, I need an aid. And now, that aid is I have her 3 times a week, and then my wife helps out. Luckily, nowadays, with the colostomy, my wife never did my bowel program. It's always been the aid. But now it's a lot easier with the colostomy bag because I can do it and she does some of it. We do it together, depending on how fast I need to get it changed or whatever. At night, it's like kind of we go to bed together. So she's more like just popping me into bed and help me get undressed because it's quicker. And she just like, man, by the time you get done, uh, you know, I'm already ready to fall asleep, instead of watching TV together. So um, that's just like the everyday. There's a lot more of that independence. Luckily I can get in and out and drive myself, go get groceries. Just like you, Tom, I always hear you're managing all that. And so that's, I got that independence. There's some things when it comes to housework, obviously, I wish I can do more, like drill something in the wall to hang something up, or to fix the fence that just broke a couple days ago. And it's like, God, it's so easy to do, but that independence isn't there. So I think over time it's changed in the last 30 years. It's
And
gotten more, it's gotten,
it's changed for me over the last decade. It's something that's kind
yeah.
of like ever changing. I mean, there are periods of time where like I had a bladder stone and my spasms were so debilitating, and my AD was like my dysreflexia was like so common, and things were like so crazy. Like for those few months, like my situation was very different.
Mhm.
And I don't know, even like your body changes too. Like pain and you know mobility changes and things like they happen and continue to happen, and that's like a big part of the independent living skill is the ability to continue to adapt and to learn. I mean, I'm even gone back to rehab and therapy to learn new skills and ways of doing things that I already do, but in a way that's healthier for me, in a way that is easier for me, in a way that maybe causes less pain, or in new ways that I need to learn to do that because I just can't in ways I've done in the past. So sorry to
Yeah.
interrupt, but I think that's a really important
No, no, I was done.
is just change.
Yeah, and that's I
Yeah. And it's kind of
agree too with you.
that age. I'm sorry, Sean, go ahead.
I was gonna say I totally yeah. It does like I feel like it's constantly evolving as you age, as you have other things happening in life, injury, like whatever all kinds of things can affect it. Like UTI, bladder stone, like Tom just said, that will probably debilitate you for a while. So anything like that, yeah, that's because mine has been an evolution as well.
And when things come, I don't think you've experienced this, Sean or Tom, uh, but your independence is lost. When you break a femur really bad, and your leg has to be, so for like 6 months, I was like real, like, and that was morning and night and round the clock. And, it was a big cast and it wasn't a cast, it was a brace that I couldn't bend my knee for 3 months, and it was just like, oh man, what a pain in the ass that was. So I had to have somebody morning and night. And luckily I had a roommate that was willing to step up, and help me out a little bit. But what does your independence look like, Shawn? And I know we get to follow your independence a little bit by your videos and the channel that you started and created. So that's been a, kind of a gift for everybody. But, how has
Hey,
it changed for you?
But yeah, I mean, in the
hey,
beginning,
hey, Sean,
yeah, go
can I
ahead.
just shout out a couple people real quick in the
Yeah,
chat before
Yeah.
we get started with the next thing? I just want to say what's up, Chair Life? What's up, Paul DeWolf? Big shout out to Mr. Wheels. Love you, man. Thanks for popping in the chat today, dude. We had Lone Fractal in the building, Andrew, Olivia, Leah, everybody. Thank you so much for stopping by. And if you guys have anything you want to share in the chat, any questions or any particular topics, especially as it relates to independent living, we'd love to hear it.
yeah. Definitely anybody in the chat, anybody with questions, we appreciate all you guys hanging out, watching, and commenting. So let us know if there's anything that you have questions about. And yeah, for me, it's definitely been an evolution. It was probably about 2 years till I started really becoming independent too after my injury, um, and was like starting to be able to transfer and things like that. And then got into driving, I think about my third year in of my injury. Um, and yeah, it's for a while that was kind of what I prided myself. Like I would stubbornly do anything and everything I could for myself, besides my bowel care stuff. The bowel care stuff for me independently, I have always. I actually can do it with a suppository and inserter. Like if it was some dire emergency, but it would be messy. It would not be. It would not be a pretty
Yeah. When
situation if I did try. But I can insert the suppository, and then what happens after that would I have to figure out. um, but um, but yeah, so that's the one thing where I've never been able to be fully independent. And then now, as I've aged and got a little older and have a partner in my life, I have like you, Bobby. Like sometimes it is easier and cleaner too to like even with like some of the catheter care stuff and like switching bags and things like that. Like I do realize that I might not have had the most sterile practices independently. I tried my best, but as a quad, sometimes it's just hard to be as sterile as somebody that really knows what they're doing, cares, and is going to do a good job, can do. So
Yeah.
yeah, so
Yeah, especially that when for our catheter needs or changing our suprapubic, it's when I found out it, use the most sterile technique you can, to avoid that. And I'm like, oh shoot, because for 20 years I was just, pretty much scissors cut off the very top, pull it out, put one back in as quick as I can, and it was like there was no sterile technique. And then it's like, oh, that might be a reason why I might be having a few more UTIs over the last couple of years. And then finally, now that I use that sterile technique, it helps a lot better.
and that's actually one thing that I've never really done. Only when I accidentally yanked it out, like a few years into my injury, that I have to have somebody at home put a new one in or insert it. I've always had like a home health agency nurse to be able to come out and change my catheter sterile, clean with all like the proper practices and stuff. So that's another
Not
thing
not
where I
it's Leah's job, but I'm sure she could easily do it just like that, right?
I'm sure she could do it for sure. Yeah, she does help me actually fill like halfway through my change. I get it changed every 3 weeks, and halfway through, I put 2 milliliters of liquid into the balloon. I add it because I do a small balloon, and for some reason, I always lose about 2 to sometimes even 3 mils of liquid over that 3 week period. It'll be
Yeah.
smaller than like what they insert into it. So like halfway through at the midpoint, I've been adding the 2 mils, and then when they change it, it always comes back out the same as it was went in. So like
Oh,
right.
see, I never added. I mean, I've always get that. I put in 4.5 cc's, and I get
Oh, you
out
do? Yeah.
maybe a CC every time.
How does it stay into you? Jesus. All right.
I,
We'll have to
no,
talk about that on another catheter one episode. We'll have to get into that, but that's crazy,
don't touch.
dude. Um, but yeah, and then Kay mentioned in the chat, and Leah just replied also, but like since COVID, a lot of the new delivery stuff has really also helped for independence, for shopping, for if you are living independently, getting food delivered, your groceries delivered, all that kind of stuff. Or even for like me, I've taken advantage when during earlier COVID, like maybe not delivered, but the curbside pickup. You just roll up, you sit in your van, they'll walk it out. They're usually really nice. I can have them set it like on my passenger seat, get it, and then I can get all set up and do my thing there and eat independently from there. But yeah, for me, so that's what independence looks like for me. Really, I strived to be as independent as I could, especially through my like later 20s, um, when I just kind of like was getting stronger and wanted to travel with rugby. Was trying to live independently. I was living with my brother for a few years. I lived by myself with my brother, and he wasn't a whole lot of help. So that was besides like sometimes for food and things like that we would do, but like a lot of my care needs were all done independently by myself for all most of those years. So um,
Yeah, I know we kind of all touched on it a little bit, but I'll start with you, Tom. How long did it, take for you to get independent? I mean, I know you have that transition from your parents were helping you out to moving. So, but how long did it actually take?
It was probably a solid year to get my transfers and my independent catheterizing down. I got my catheterizable stoma, my urostomy, the Metroponov procedure. We've talked about it before.
Hmm.
Um, and that was a big thing. Like, there was never really much expectation of learning to maintain my bowel care fully independently, like Shawn. It's something I can do. It's not something I can do long term. Um, I Yeah, no, it's been a long journey. I sat up this morning and from like a laying down position, and I thought, like 10 years ago, like if I would have saw that or somebody do that and like set that same expectation for myself, I would have thought it was impossible. I would have been like, no, dude, like you're crazy. Like I'm probably never ever gonna be able to do that. But here I am, 10 years later, and I do it like it's nothing. And I always say I'm always still learning. 10 years in, 15 years into my journey, I'm going to continue to learn and change. It's kind of like a part of it, but I'd say it was probably at least 2 or 3 years of really, really solid, regular, everyday work and effort. Um, that that's probably about it. So it seems impossible. Seems really crazy and hard. I don't know. Like, I talk to a lot of newly injured individuals, and it's kind of a hard thing. Like, I think about, and like, I don't even know how to say or phrase. Like, what do you tell somebody? It's like, yeah, you're probably gonna be able to transfer and live independently and stuff, but it's gonna take you a few years to get there. Like, it's hard to see that light at the end of the tunnel. It's easier when you have support. It's easier when you have help and stuff. Not everybody's in that situation. So um, it is something that is not measured in short amounts of times, but longer ones. And that being said, it isn't impossible. It just takes a seemingly possible amount of time, I think, sometimes. So yeah, but that's my answer. It took me like 2 or 3 years at least, but it's something
Hmm.
I'm like still learning and continue to learn and grow and change. Well into my journey, and I think that's true for anybody who's
Yeah.
on the journey for independence.
How about you, Sean? How long did it take you?
for me, it was pretty close to the same. Well, I'll be honest. The first probably close to a year of my injury or out of the hospital, like when I was leaving rehab, I told myself, "Oh, I'm gonna get independent. I'm gonna do this." But then when I got home, I got kind of hit with reality.
Hey
Uh,
guys, I'll be right back. I gotta go for a minute.
okay, a
Mhm.
little bit of a depression um, kind of set in and stuff, and I didn't really try to be independent probably for my first year or like close to that. Like it just it all seemed like Tom said impossible. Like it just seemed like that's just gonna be too much, too hard. And then eventually I did start to work out a little bit more. Shout out to my friend Mike DeYoung from rugby because I ran into him at the support group. He kept trying to get me to come to rugby. I finally did. Um, and and yeah, it was like he kind of also started coming to my house, working out with me a little bit, showing me how he did his transfer independently. And that's the transfer I ultimately learned was that elbow. That's
Yeah.
where I learned it from was from Mike. Um, so that was like the kick in the butt I needed, I think, right at the to kind of start doing it. And then it took me about 2 years to build up the strength and independence to where I could feel comfortable transferring myself, and even to the point where I would be comfortable transferring to a van to drive and stuff like that, and get that independence. And to be honest, mine was motivated like you guys, kind of like I was young. I wanted to just go and hang out with my friends at night and didn't want to have to come back super early, have my dad wake up or wake my dad up to help me get into bed. Um, that was like what I eventually did want to try to learn was just to at least be able to get myself into bed and ready for bed at night so that I could go out with friends and come back and be able to take care of my care needs for the night at least. So that was probably my first step towards independence was that
Yeah.
night routine.
Y-
What about
You
you,
know,
Bobby?
I think it changes for your lifestyle as well, your independence, or your, or the help that you need. I mean, we talk about that sometimes you can lose and some caretaking time, and so that makes you have to have a little more help around, or meaning I should say lose some care and then you get more independent. So you're not having the same amount of help. So that might be one factor, or just moving out might be another factor of becoming independent. Let's say you're taking a trip. Our good buddy Andrew, who's been here for a while, but he might be going to the Olympics this year in Paris to see a friend. And um, his independence is going to be about his trip. And so I think over time we learned that independence comes with each decade to every 5 years to even sometimes every year. Kind of be it's like they were saying in the chat earlier about curbside. That helped you become a little more independent than making, and as well as making it easier to come out. But Kay, something that I'll tell you, I call up places all the time and I tell them, hey, I'm outside, I'm in a gray van, and I'm in a wheelchair. Can you just bring it out to me, please? Always. Never had anybody, any place that didn't have curbside say no. So,
Yeah, because most of the
uh,
time they have to go orders anyways, and if somebody's in there, it's usually not too hard to walk, 20 feet outside the door or whatever, like especially if you're parked in a handicapped spot in front of like the place. It's, that I feel like I have actually, I think, done that once. And it did work and they came out and stuff. So,
I'm before COVID, you know, I'm not a big fan of it anymore. I had one bad bowl, I think it was, but I used to go to Chipotle, thinking, oh, it's a little healthier, but get the bowl and stuff. And they would always I would always just be right out there, and I'd see them answering the phone. I'm like, hey, I'm right out front. If you look to the right, like I'm in a chair. Can you bring it out? So I've been using it for years, and I've never had a problem. Um, and also, Kay said, celebrate the little wins. And I think that's the
that's
independent, celebrate it. And
the big one.
like Soto said, whatever it takes. And I think independence for each of us, changes over time. So Rob, you said it, whenever you get the keys to the car, and it's modified for you and hand controls or a lift, you know, obviously transportation is a huge independence. And so that changes. Or, some people might be um, living in an apartment and then they get to move to a different place that gives them more independence, where it's easier to get to the parking lot and or to the bus stop or whatever it might be. So independence can become in a variety, but there's lots of other ways to look around and say, hey, this is the area I have. What can we do to make it independent? Kind of like what you've shown on your videos, getting in and out of a pool or you know, shower commode and things like that. Like you said, going to Mike DeYoung's and rugby and as well as for me, rugby was the biggest thing to create a lot of independence because I was seeing that
Yep.
modeling. If you can watch people, who model it, it makes it like the light bulbs go off. Oh, I can do that. Like the
Yep.
first time, seeing somebody with the zipper on the side of the kind of leg bag like we wear, Shawn. We both
I
have
actually,
gone and modified all of our pants to make it more independent. That you know to make the leg bag work a lot easier.
yeah, that's a thing that I've started doing now. I had like two pairs of pants with that, but now Leah has helped me do a couple more pairs of pants as well. Because she's a seamstress and was able to add.
Mm-hmm.
But besides that, I actually, because I was nearly in a little bit, we're gonna talk about some independent tools and stuff. But
Yeah.
just for a second, I actually one of the things I did show, I actually have one of the leg bag valves here, and that's how Bobby showed me these. And you see, I have like a little big loop thing on it here, so I can just stick my thumb into it. It's easy. And this valve, oops, it's hard to do just like in the air like that because I don't have the tricep to hold it. But it just flips open and closed really easily, really well. And that's how I can independently empty my leg bag. And Bobby's the one that showed me that 20 years ago. And they still make them and still work perfectly for quads. So,
And it's funny. I always go whenever I have a drawer full of rings, car rings, or key rings. So I
so I
put the
used to
key
use
ring.
the key rings on them too, but the key ring would catch my short sometimes a little bit easier when I went to like pull my short down with my thumb. I would kind of like loop my thumb and kind of pull it down. And occasionally it would grab that key ring and open my bag and
Uh,
pee all down my leg or the floor, um, and just like fully open, just flowing. So that's why I switched to the fabric ones. But I and these are the same little loops. I use those on my zipper, on the side zipper that I use for my pants to like open it so I could get to my leg bag. And
mhm.
yeah. So
Where'd you get where'd you get those for people out there?
you can order them from a lot of different medical supplies company. They're made by Eurocare, Urocare, just
Yeah.
Eurocare. And you can look up.
That came from the company?
Yeah,
The
these are.
the ring? No, I meant the ring. The ring
Oh, the
for
ring. Oh no, the ring I just got on Amazon. I looked up large fabric loops, and I found ones that looked like they had an actual opening on them, not just
mm,
like because I bought a bunch in the past that just had like smaller little loops, and I could get my finger in, but I would have to like really work it to get it in there. It was hard to actually grab, and I could use it, but these ones are big and open and like stay open, and they work really really well for
mm.
that. So I was going to transition to our next little question, which Tom was just talking about things he thought was impossible and like it seems impossible and stuff. And that was actually our next question. So, what is something that you thought was going to be impossible when you were first like either injured or just looking to become independent? Was there anything that just seemed so daunting to you that you're like, "No, that's impossible"? Until maybe you saw somebody do it, somebody told you, "Oh no, you can do that," or you just maybe figured it out on your own and was like, "No, I can do this." Tom, you want to go?
Yeah. Sorry for having to step away for a second. I've got some really nasty, ugly, toxic people in my life right now, and I needed to have a breath before I came
Mm.
back. So shout out those nasty, ugly, toxic people. Um, what is something I thought was impossible? Um, thought living on my own was impossible until I did it. I thought transferring was going to be impossible. Till I did it. It took me an hour the first time I did. Then I realized I could. And I don't know. Seeing something and realizing, seeing somebody else do it, finally doing something myself as long as or as hard as it maybe is to do or achieve the first time. Um, I don't know. I've thought about it all. I didn't think I could be sick on my own. I've always wondered how I was going to manage that. Now it's just a part of living independently. I never thought I could stay in a hotel, travel, manage my bowel care independently. I thought that was going to be impossible. And that didn't come until years and years and years after I moved out, until I kind of figured out how to manage that, to be independent, traveling and even here, not relying on a caregiver for a certain amount of time. Yeah, those are probably the highlights, Bobby.
Ah, man, good question. I mean, obviously, always when you move out, if you've been injured, still living with your parents, that's always a victory. The vehicle was a big victory, but it wasn't like, I don't know, after my injury, just hearing from the therapist, and had a really, couple great rec therapists that said, you'll be doing this or that. Sports will be possible again. And so going back to sports was a huge thing, but it wasn't like I thought I would never be able to do any of it. I mean, maybe for the first 30 days, 60 days of rehab until, they started talking in my ear. Um, but one victory, and it's funny, and something I thought would be impossible just because of my, because we already have enough shit and dealing with shit is shitty. But getting a colostomy, I thought, I would never do something like that. It just thought, you know, it would just be too crazy. And it turned out that it gave me so much independence. And I thought I would, never be able to do it and never be able to handle it. But now, a few months after it, I was like, holy crud. I wish I would have done this a long time ago. It would have made traveling a lot easier. It would have made living on my own a lot easier. It just would have made life so much easier. And, so I kind of kicked myself. I didn't do it a little bit earlier in life. But that, we don't think about that as like your independence, but it is.
Yeah, no, that does because it eliminated some of your care needs, made just
Yeah. And it was a
a
big
little bit
help
less
when COVID
complicated.
hit because I lost my aide and, you know, it was, I wasn't gonna have my wife do my bowel care, so it just made it like, oh, awesome, it was so much easier for her, take off, take on, there are days that it's not the best, when it, just like anybody might have, but you know but it's very much more easy to manage than my bowel care used to.
Yeah. And so for me, something that I always felt would be, I mean, there was, in the beginning, there was a lot of stuff that I was like, yeah, nah, I'm probably not going to drive again. Probably not going to travel. Like, I'm not going to do any of these things. But then, going to the support groups, meeting people, seeing people going to rugby, and just kind of seeing that, like, oh, okay, maybe I can transfer, maybe I can drive again. Um, but then even later into my injury, like until last year, I didn't even want to travel on a plane more than 2 hours, really, like for a single long flight. So like I've kind of been pushing that, and always just like it's so uncomfortable, so hard. And to be able to do almost a 12-hour flight this last year, and go internationally for
Oh
rugby and
man.
stuff. Like that was something that I definitely did not see as being possible, even probably a year or so ago. Like that was nothing that I thought was in the realm of like possibility. So that's one of the big things for sure.
I
So
think a lot of things seem impossible until you do it, or
yep,
until you're put in a situation where you have to do it. I get that feeling a lot, even still now, about things that I know are really, really super possible because I do them every day. But I get overwhelmed. Like it's any one thing I feel like I can deal with. It's when there's like multiple things going on that's hard. Like, what if I'm feeling dysreflexic, having bladder issues, I don't have any care scheduled, let's say not just today, but even the next day, and maybe even the day after, and then I shit myself, and I'm not wearing a brief, and it's my clothes are fucked up, and my chair is all messy and dirty, and I'm the only fucking person here to deal with it, and I'm in this fucking situation where I can barely do anything. Those moments, a lot of it feels impossible. And the way that I make it through those moments is, I don't know, I hit my vape, I take a deep breath of some fresh air after the not so fresh air, and I take it one step at a time. And I work until things feel a little bit more possible and things
Mm-hmm.
seem a little bit easier. And I just get one thing off my list and one thing done, and then I take a little break and I go on to the next thing. And then I gather myself and I go on to the next thing. And then the next thing you know, there's nothing left on your list and things feel a little bit better again. Things are a little bit more manageable and things feel a little bit more possible. Um, Say like mental health is a big part of that too. Um, when I'm down, I've been down a lot lately. I've been really, really struggling with some really serious depression, some really serious mental health lately. That's made things hard. Um, it can make things hard physically when you don't feel like you have any energy, and then everything feels like it takes more energy than you got. Um, I'd say, I don't know, the protocol is pretty similar. Is just keep on pushing. I'll get fucking pissed off and just so angry and like just to motivate myself. Be like, you fucking got this. Like this is nothing. That's not super healthy. Sometimes I'll call my people. I've even like broken down and called my mama and asked her if she could come and spend the day with me and give me some help and give me some love, and stay with my sister and stuff like that. And like that's super important too. I think sometimes when you just feel like you can't.
Yeah. No, I think I mean, mental health stuff is definitely complicates things and makes things harder. But yeah, like you were just saying though, like you take those baby steps. You don't like if you're in that situation, it's hard to look at like, all right, I'm gonna do like I'll be cleaned up here in no time. But really, like it takes you have to just compartmentalize. You have to make things just the smaller simple task, take the baby steps, start with the first thing, move on to the next, move on to the next. And if you do need to just like take that breath, take a break, breathe. The positive, I've done that so much too, Tom, where I'm like, especially early on when if I'm by myself, I'm frustrated trying to do something. Just like I'll get frustrated, but I'll take the second, like, all right, you can do this. You got this. Like, like just try to like positively motivate yourself and get it going.
And
But
I mean, sometimes there's no choice too. Like, it feels hard, it feels impossible, but there's no choice. It's like you just gotta put one foot in front of the other. You gotta, you know, put one hand in front of the other to make that transfer and move on to the next thing. Um, it's really important, and yeah, yeah, taking that
My
moment to motivate. Shout out
my
Nikki too. Love you, Nikki. Sending so much love back to you and Ashley too. Love you guys. Miss you.
my wife and I at our New Year's resolution was to do a daily devotion and a 10-minute meditation every morning right when we wake up. So we wake up and get ourselves a little situated with a coffee and open up our book, and it's a daily read. And yesterday's quote was, you know, when things, seem impossible, take one day at a time. If that's too long, take 1 hour at a time. If you need it, take 1 minute at a time. Sometimes you just might have to take 1 second at a time. So, it just, those kind of things that, we have to look at. And, you know, everybody has, you know, shit that comes along in their life. And, you know, we're not alone. And, it's, we, sometimes have to rely on others. And like you said, Tom, thank God we have family, all of us here to lean on.
And
Yeah.
live to roll too. I can't tell how many times I've leaned on Live to Roll and my Live to Roll fam to save me and motivate me and keep me going. One thing that always keeps me in check and helps to motivate me and keep me going is maintaining perspective. It's hard to consider yourself lucky in this situation sometimes, or find yourself being grateful for, you know, all this shit, because it can be really shitty and fucked up and hard a lot of the time. But I do feel very grateful. I do feel very lucky. Grateful most of all, first and foremost, for my family and the support and the love, because I just wouldn't have survived without it all. But I'm grateful for the strength that I have. I'm grateful for the function and the mobility that I have. I know not everybody even has this much. I don't got my triceps, but fuck, I got some strong shoulders and some strong tenodesis and some strong other muscles that like help me function and make it work. And I'm super thankful for that. And I don't take it lightly, and I don't take it for granted. And now like I just work to maintain it and keep myself healthy and functional for as long as I can possibly be, because that's what's most important to me is my function, my independence, and my health, and being free of pain and being able to like operate and be me. Um, but remembering there's so many other people in tougher situations, that always helps bring me back to reality and realize like, yo, bro, you're good. You ain't got nothing to worry about in comparison to some people. So grit your teeth, put a smile on your face, get your shit together, fucking make it happen, Captain, because there ain't no other choice. This is it. We just got to do it. But I don't know, just realizing what I have to be grateful for and realizing there's so many people out there in infinitely harder situations than me really helps keep me in check a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely something to think about when you are, if you're not feeling grateful and you're not feeling like, you're having a hard time. It is good to like think about things you maybe can lose and don't, like, because for most of us, it could be worse, So, like, have to be grateful for what we have.
And it might be worse, it might be like, it's just what Bobby said. Like, Bobby experienced it not too long ago with your pressure wound and then your heart issues and stuff, man. You experienced like a lapse where it's like, okay, here might be a whole new reality. Um, it's a light, it's a tunnel where you don't see the light and you don't know the path of the road ahead. That's a potential for everybody and anybody. So being grateful and realizing and utilizing and taking advantage of what you got while you got is just so important, because it could change anytime, even for us in our situation. My dad recently, like, he's gone through this thing. He's got two herniated discs in his back, and he's gone through a change in mobility dependence and mobility aids and lack of function and serious change and stuff. And seeing him experience and go through that, it's like put perspective and stuff into my mind too. And just also reminded me how important it is to continue to take care of your health too. Like I spent almost a decade without going to my physiatrist and doing any rehab and going to any therapy or doing anything. And man, oh man, if I could go back to the beginning of this and like start that stuff back then, like
Hmm.
I wonder how I might be feeling and where I might be in terms of my independent skills and my function and my pain levels and stuff like that. But it is all been brought into focus in my mind now. So I can at the very least, move forward in a better way, which is, the important thing and what I'm maintaining and trying to do.
Yeah. So we're getting a little bit closer to the end of the hour here. So I know one of the questions was what motivated yourself. I feel like we all actually did answer that earlier. We all kind of talked about our motivations when we were younger and for getting independence and stuff. Um, so do you guys use any tools or other assistive technology for your independence? Or I know Tom, you're more like me, where you kind of a lot of the different assistive tools are really cool and great, but you kind of have already figured out a lot of ways on doing. Same with you, Bobby. I think we're all kind of in that boat. Um,
I use a
Yeah,
lot of
but
smart technology.
Smart technology is
I'd
definitely,
say like the adaptive tools that I use are much just technology or tools that are available for most anybody to simplify their lives and make their lives easier. It just happens to be a little bit more important for an individual in our situation with our disabilities and stuff. But Olivia said it earlier in the chat. There's a lot of uh, cool smart devices, cool adaptive technology that changed my life. Number one being my smartphone. I'd say it's like the most important thing for any new quad that I've met. I've met a couple recently, like going through rehab and stuff. And they have a hard time using their phone. I'm like, dude, live on it, practice it, use the back of your hand, play around with it, get a little mount to set it up. But that could be a connection. It could be a tool for you to communicate. It could be a tool for you to find information. It could be a tool for you to work. It can be a tool for interacting with other things in your life. I use it to control my computer. I use it to turn my lights on and off in my bed when I transfer at night. I use it for everything. Other smart devices like Alexa or a Nest or something like that to control things in your house. Smart locks, you name it, they got something for it, and I use and utilize almost all of them to make my space as functional and as easy to function in as possible.
mm,
So I'd say keep that in mind. I've been made a bunch of videos recently. Haven't uploaded any of them yet on YouTube, but hopefully going to be uploading these and talking a little bit more about some of this cool assistive technology that's just present in our everyday life all around us and pretty affordable that I think a lot of individuals overlook and don't take advantage of. It can make a huge difference in taking that leap, that bridge to becoming more independent.
yeah. Assistive technology, I think, is huge. That's same thing with me.
And
Smart plugs,
I'll
smart
shut,
bulbs, the phone.
I'll shut this one off too. This isn't technology related. This is all like
Oh, that's Tom's
mechanical.
grabber tool. That
But
guy's skills there.
getting a reacher, I don't know. This is the other way that I live independently. It really is like one of the biggest things. Living on your own is if you're a quad. What if you drop something on the ground? I have this cool lanyard on my phone that I use that helps me pick it up and if I do drop it, which is this is probably the thing that I drop the most. But this grabber in particular, I can't get anything off the ground using it, but it also folds up and I can put it in my bag. So when I'm out in the gallivanting in the world, operating independently, traveling without a caregiver or anything, I drop things not just at home, but outside on the sidewalk and in different places sometimes. And being able to travel with a grabber in your bag too, to be able to pick things up, it's super important and probably one of my biggest tools for independence.
Yeah, I know you've got crazy skills with that grabber. If you guys haven't seen, we do have a little video on the channel of Tom. Oh, Bobby's actually got the quad tools uh, grabber, which
so
those are
I
significantly more for you with
yeah.
your
So
quad.
it's not the grabber, but I've used it as the grabber and just got it not too long ago. Still playing with it. I had it on, so I can do it on my right hand, but my right wrist is not strong enough. So I moved it to my left, and so that's been. I'm not left-handed, so getting anything has been challenging to start it. But it's the tongs that you can get. But I've used it as to pick up my phone And I got just exactly like, you think of, it doesn't have to be assistive technology, but thinking of those straps that you have, I got the same one for my phone too. Like, it just makes when you drop the phone to pick up with your reacher or hand off the ground, it just makes it so much more, a lot easier. And, uh, you know, they're not that big and bulky, lanyard or anything. And then you can hook it onto anything. So, um,
Chair
yes.
Life
So yeah,
said it too, Bobby. That thing is high dollar. Unfortunately, like that's the biggest barrier between I think a lot of adaptive technology is the price. I wish that they were a little bit cheaper. This particular tool set, Quad Tools, you can Google it. I think that's the name. Quad Tools. They have a
Yeah, quad
website.
tool. Those.
These are invented by Quad for other quadriplegics. They uses tenodesis to activate the grabber, which is the biggest difference between like my reacher and that reacher. Is it's a normal handle. I got to do some crazy funny tricks to make it work and make it grab. But being able to activate it with the tenodesis, which is that wrist flexion that's super, super important for any quadriplegic, is super awesome and super cool. In the realm of things, $100, which is about the price tag of their grabbers or reachers, is not
go
bad.
try
More?
going on. Yeah, it's a little bit even more. And the one thing I wouldn't have one. I mean, if I could do what you do, Tom, and just it's amazing what you do with your reacher. Um, and I would never, the price, like Chair Life said, the thing's a high dollar. But luckily, a friend in our chat, he got two of them for the price of one. So luckily, he's like, "Do you want the other one?" So I got lucky on that, or I probably wouldn't own it. But yeah, it's they are nice quad tools, but very high dollar.
And then shout out also our friend Mark at Abilities. He makes a bunch of different quad friendly tools. He is a quad. I have his little drink holder one here, so you can hold it all kinds of ways. But it's got the oops, it's got like a little cuff to hook, and this one's actually made for like glasses that are tapered. So pretty much any restaurant bar glass or something, if you're out, you start low and come up into the taper, and it will grab the drink for you, and you can pick it up. But he also makes some other ones that do feature the tenodesis stuff, like for using a Dyson vacuum and a couple other specialty ones like that. But yeah, just shout out my friend Mark, and yeah, he actually does 3D print everything himself, designs and does it all. So yeah,
Um,
shout out. But
huh.
then also, so we are getting towards the end here. We are actually at the end hour. Do you guys have any other tips or advice you have for anybody that is trying to gain independence, either new in injury or just didn't think they could do it before and need some little advice to get going?
My best thing is being around people uh, that are in your same situation helps a lot. Going to support groups and hearing the different things and learning about what's out there, because sometimes even after 34 years I still learn about something and I'm like, holy crap, I didn't know they had that. It makes life a little bit easier. So, and or just doing your own exploring online. If you're one of the 30 plus people watching this, you're already a little bit computer savvy. Get savvy on looking at things that are out there. That research the different types of gloves that makes it easier for you, or the different types of reachers that could possibly work for you. Or there's nowadays they're coming out with these attachable scooters, and I would have showed it, but I got one, but it's in the car, of course. And you know having that has been a big independence change in my life. Like, as soon as the show's done, I'm going to go vote, and it's almost a mile away. Instead of getting in my car, I'm like, let's just take my scooter over there. It's fast enough, and I'll just I'm over there, kind of like, getting that independence like you have all the time, Tom, when you go to the store and you're like, yeah, that works for me, and so it's like open up this little world for me. I mean, I wish there was more stores closer to me to have places to go where I don't have to get in my car because, you know, after 30 years of doing the car, it's, we're slow. I'm slow. It takes time, just to go vote takes, about 10 minutes. And then, um, but to get in and out of the car and then back in and out of the car, that takes 30 minutes, round trip. So,
Yeah, I know that's cool. Assistive devices like that do help. Um, and shout out Olivia, thank you, Black Olive, for the super
yeah.
chat. We appreciate you. Um, always supporting, always in the chat. You're awesome, Olivia. Thank you.
Yeah, shout out Olivia. We love you.
And
Miss you.
for assistive
What Mr.
technology and stuff like we're all talking about, if you're in the SoCal area, come out to the LA Abilities Expo, March 15th to the 17th. It's coming up less than 2 weeks away now. Um, and all those scooters like Bobby has, all the different new technology, they'll all be there, and a lot of it's for sale. You can get stuff, and they just do pretty much have all the new products and technology out there. Go ahead, Tom. Sorry,
Yeah.
or Bob.
No, go ahead, Tom.
No, Bobby.
Oh, I was going to
Um,
say, I'll bring the scooter to the expo when either on Friday or Saturday.
here's the thing that's kind of sucks or shitty. How much does that scooter cost, if you don't mind me asking, Bobby?
I don't, the one, it's about 3,000 for the quad version.
Um,
It's three.
yeah. And I'm
So
not saying that
Yeah.
it's not worth it because it most certainly is, like if it like can bring you so much independence and freedom and a cool way to get around and, do your daily tasks. Everybody go out there and vote, do your civic duty. It's more important than ever. But um, it sucks. It freaking is awful that I'd say for 98% of people with disabilities, $3,000 is about $2,900 more than what the average disabled person can afford. You know, and it's just awful. And like the most heartbreaking part of adaptive and assistive technologies, the majority of it out there isn't readily available or accessible for the individuals who most need it,
Well,
which freaking sucks.
on those, they're coming more, a little more popular, kind of like the smart drive. You used to have
Yeah,
to pay even way more than that scooter, and you used to have to pay for that, and now insurance covers it. So hopefully within time, it will change to where insurances will be paying for it, or getting grants is
yeah,
also,
that's what I was gonna.
when we say be independent, getting grants makes your independence to life. And
absolutely.
someone that gets a glance at some grants through the Triumph Foundation, I'm starting to see grants for those. So it's, you got to be, savvy to do some of those things. Like, that's the easy part. But luckily, I have independence to go hand cycling. I don't know which way to go. Independence to go hand cycling. It's way there. The orange thing. That thing's $8,000, and no way I could afford it unless Kelly Brush and High Fives Foundation. Thank God they're out there, or Challenge Athletes. I didn't use them, but there's getting those. That's where we have to become independent as well, not by just our equipment, but by our drive to research and thrive to get some of those.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I just point out the unfortunate nature of some of this stuff.
Yeah, it
Like the
sucks.
reality is, working on grants and doing all that stuff and all that effort after working to maintain your health and your insurance and all your other health and organize all that stuff. It's a lot, but you're absolutely right. It's just because it's a lot doesn't mean it's not a burden that many of us have to take on and um, do to be successful in some of this stuff. And that is the reality of a lot of it. If I have any advice to any newly injured individual, anybody working on their journey to independence, is be ready to work. Find a healthy routine, like Mr. Wheels pointed out a couple comments back, is like having a regular routine, like having a regular routine to work on your transfers, having a regular routine to set aside time to work on whatever independent skills you're practicing or working on, or, trying to achieve to make independent living successful or work for you, or just achieve independence at whatever level you want. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of repetition. It's a ton of patience. And sometimes it's going to feel really far away. I promise it's not as far away as it might seem. And, just got to stay after it. Got to stay hungry. You got to stay motivated, however that might look or work for you. But establishing a daily routine where you get up and you do your thing and kind of have your set program and schedule, I say, is really big and important part of that. So shout out to
Yeah.
Mr. Wheels for that good comment, because I think it's super important. And you know, stay positive and figuring out how to stay mentally positive through it all is another real tough thing, because it's going to be a lot of, I don't know, it's like that thing. You have to fail 10,000 times, you know, but you didn't fail 10,000 times. You just learned 10,000 different ways of not doing that one thing you're working on. Like all of those failures do teach you things, and they lend to your final goal, which is achieving whatever it is that you're setting out to. So it's not necessarily failures, even though that's what it feels like sometimes. If you are working on your transfers and you only make it 50% of the way before you need to ask for help, let's say you got to do that 500 times, but then you make it 75% of the way before you have to ask for help. You're still making progress, and that can be so hard to see sometimes. But failing forward, is a big part of the process, I think, in maintaining a good, healthy view of that, and understanding that it's not failing, but it's just a part of the learning process. I think is super important to learn at the beginning. It can make your journey and your road a whole lot easier. Or at least it got easier for me. Um,
Yeah.
so yeah.
Yeah, that's great advice from both of you guys, and I pretty much am right there with you guys. Like I always just say, take it in baby steps, because yeah, like it could seem daunting to figure out, like, just going from being barely able to sit up in bed to where I'm going to transfer myself and drive. So you just have to take those steps, slowly get there. Like you said, if you can get it 50% of the time, or 50, half the way, that's the way I learned my transfer. I started as much as I could, and then I had somebody help me. And I pushed a little bit more, and then I'd have somebody do it to help me with the lift. And then I started pushing with the lift and having them still help, to the point where when I finally did do an independent transfer, I didn't realize I didn't get helped. My brother was just like, "Oh," he's like, "I didn't even touch you on that one," like, because the couple times
Yeah.
before that he had like lightly guided me, and it got to the point where, like,
Hmm.
I was just pushing, I was doing it, and like I literally didn't even realize that I had gotten to that level, just because I took it in baby steps and slowly got there.
And
Um,
I'd say like those failures are almost even like essential to the process, because like it was like leaning a certain way and catching myself with my hand and realizing, oh man, that gives me some good leverage. Maybe if I tried to do that every time, I could get a good push and get a little bit further and stuff. And it's those things that teach you, and it's those things that are a part of that process.
exactly.
So heck yeah.
All right, guys. So
Yeah.
that's about the hour. I hope that was some decent advice for you. Hope maybe motivate you if you are kind of working on your independence. Um, let's go ahead and shout out the sponsors again. We want to thank our sponsors. Do one of you guys want to do it for the full one? I think I had
Let's shout out the mobility professional. You got it, Bobby?
Go for it.
You want to take it, Bobby?
You beat me to it. You beat me to it. Go for
Mobility
it.
Professionals is a durable medical equipment company here in Southern California. They've been a big supporter of Live to Roll for the last few years, and we give a lot of love and appreciation to them for that. But not only for that, but also for being an awesome company that's a big supporter of our community. They help us get our wheelchairs. They help us get similar equipment that helps us enable our independence, our mobility, our function throughout our life of living in a chair. And they're really awesome in helping us in that process and navigating that, giving us good advice, working with our insurance, and working with us to get fitted and get the right equipment to be as successful and independent as possible. You got to unfortunately be in the Southern California area to take advantage of mobility professionals. But good news if you're not, their sister company, Urology Professionals, can help you out. Anything and everything urological supplies related. They are also a national brand. So if you find yourself in need of catheter supplies, any other related urological supplies, they do it all. They got all the top brands, they got all the best catheters and all the best supplies, and best of all, they'll help work with your insurance and work with you to navigate the process of getting you your supplies for as cheap and as little trouble and cost to you as possible. So do yourself a favor and give them a call, give them a Google, check out their website if you feel so inclined. Let them know Literal sent you.
Yeah, and they do send out samples and stuff for some of the catheters. So if you just need some samples, you're running low on supply, they're a great company. They will help you out with that kind of stuff. So thanks, Tom, for shouting the
Mhm.
sponsors out. Do we want to do shows? We got, let's split it up, Bobby. Tomorrow, we got T Fizzle with Gaming channel.
Hey,
And
what's that? Hey, I have a question for you. I didn't get to Wednesday. I took my wife out to dinner, but when I got back, were you on 8 hours? Did
he
you
was
almost
on
do it like a 8 hours?
Yeah,
Damn, good
8 hour
job.
gaming stream last Wednesday. We'll see if Tom
Definitely
goes for a
check
new
out
record.
Steve on his gaming
we're
show.
going,
Dang, that,
we're going, we're going 12 tomorrow, so you don't want to
ooh,
miss it.
We're setting some
damn.
YouTube records here, long run.
Yeah,
So if you guys want to come hang out in the gaming chat, game with Tom, hop in
good
there and
job.
play with him. Make sure to send him a message, get in there on the chat.
It's
Um,
an awesome group. We have an amazing group of people, many of whom were regulars in this chat and our other shows. It's something fun. It's a fun place to come and hang out. If gaming's your thing, if gaming's not your thing, it could be a fun place to come and hang out and talk to. We have a cool community. We stay connected offline as well. So if you want to come and join our Discord and become more involved and a part of the group, please don't hesitate. We'd love to have you.
Yeah.
Definitely, yeah. Reach out for join that Discord. So, and then this Thursday, we actually have Rolling with the Golden Oldies coming back. We got for their second episode, first Thursday of the month. Um, Great show. All women that have been in the chair for 35 plus years. Lots of experience in the chair, lots of experience in life. So they're going to be sharing. They're actually going to be talking about the Abilities Expo and community and things there. Because Julianne has actually worked for the expo and she travels and does all of them. So she should have some really great information for you guys this Thursday. So check out that show. And then we will be back every Tuesday at 3:30. We're on next week. Um, we're actually talking about community as well. Going to be talking about disability community, the importance, how that's helped and affected our lives. So tune in for that next Tuesday. And then some of the other shows we got coming up on Mondays now. We also do have gaming with Sarab. So if you guys with Hell Wheels, so if you guys want to check that out on Mondays, he's not the long stream gamer like Tom. Tom is a long hangout. If you guys want to hop on, he's also answering tech questions in the chat. If you guys want to join and ask any questions about getting your setup, and if you have any questions about quad gaming and adaptive setup, hit up Tom on the Wednesday stream. He's always showing his skills
And
off.
technology too. I'm pretty well versed in adaptive technology, and
So
it's
yeah,
something we talk about all the time for newly injured people, people trying to get into gaming or trying to get set up on their computer and stuff. It's something I'm super impassioned and very, very knowledgeable about. So happy to share whatever advice or work on setting, doing anything else with you guys.
So yeah,
Just stop on.
hit Tom up, join the chat, join the conversation, and hang out. And then we also got coming up this month, and not next week, but the week after, Bobby will be on with Robert and Luis. and talking some aging with disability stuff on rolling over the hill. So make sure to tune into that. And then on the third Thursdays of the month, we got our younger women on with the Wheel Girl Talk coming on every third Thursday with Brianna, Nikki, Ashley, Maya, and Jessica. So tune into that. We got all kinds of great content on the channel. Monday through Thursday, live streaming. Tuesdays and Thursdays, make sure to check out our shows. And all the Tuesday, Thursday shows are uploaded to podcast. So if you guys do prefer to listen on podcast, check us out on Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, any of those that you download your podcast from. So thank you guys. We appreciate your support. Everybody in the chat, all the people that donate, support, just join every week, watch. We love you
Olivia,
guys.
thank you for that super chat.
The super chat, yeah. Thank you, Olivia. Appreciate it. So yeah, thank you. It was a great show, you guys. I hope everybody got some information from it. Reach out if you guys do have any other questions and things like that about living independently. So thanks, guys. See you guys next time, and live to roll, everybody.
See you tomorrow.